Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the secrets of emotional predators. We'll learn exactly how to identify them and, more importantly, how to protect your mind from hidden psychological manipulation. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, let's start with a highly relatable scenario. Have you ever gone into a discussion, like you're totally sure of your boundaries beforehand, only to walk out feeling completely confused about why you just agreed to something? You know that strange, disorienting feeling of promising to do a favor you definitely didn't want to do? Yeah, almost all of us have been there at some point.
Well, here's the thing. That wasn't an accident. It wasn't you just having a lapse in memory or trying to be nice. The blunt truth? You've been manipulated. You were the target of goal-oriented emotional manipulation. Someone actively used calculated communication tactics to confuse you, distort your mental beliefs, and prey on your vulnerabilities, literally before you even realized what was happening. To build our survival guide today, we've got a clear 4-step path. We're going to define dark psychology, explore the Dark Triad profiles, understand what makes an ideal victim, and finally, build your mental armor. Let's move right into Section 1, Defining Dark Psychology, Unveiling the Hidden Threat. What exactly are we dealing with when we talk about this hidden side of the human mind?
Dark psychology isn't magic, right? It's the literal study of predatory human behavior. And surprisingly, experts assume that a massive 99.99% of these manipulative actions are driven by purposeful motivation. From the manipulator's point of view, they are completely rational. They want power, money, control, whatever it is. Only a tiny fraction, like 0.01% of people, engage in purposeless victimization just to cause harm. Basically, when someone manipulates you, they almost certainly have a very specific goal in mind.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Dark Triad profiles, the faces of manipulation. There are 3 totally distinct personalities you really need to be aware of here.
First up in the Dark Triad, we have narcissism. This is characterized by an exaggerated sense of importance, an excessive need for attention, and a profound lack of empathy. But here's the kicker: it actually hides a deeply fragile ego. Their grandiose, idealized self-image demands constant validation from everyone around them, while they completely ignore their partners' or colleagues' needs. It's all about them, all the time.
Second, we have Machiavellianism, named after the medieval politician Niccolo Machiavelli. This is a deviant personality displaying constant manipulative behavior, deceit, and treachery as their baseline default state. They simply don't care about honesty. They view lying and manipulation as literally the absolute only way to conduct themselves in all situations.
And the third profile is psychopathy. This is a mental disorder characterized by antisocial behavior, extreme egocentricity, and a complete, absolute inability to develop empathy. These individuals repeatedly violate social rules and cause intense trauma without ever learning from the consequences of their actions. They just don't feel it.
Now, to really see the difference here, think about normal self-interest. You or I might lie and call in sick to work once because we desperately need a mental health day to binge watch a show, right? But a Machiavellian personality, they lie relentlessly. They lie even when there is absolutely no clear benefit to it. Deceit is just their default mode of operating in the world. It's how they breathe.
Another absolutely crucial point regarding psychopaths is the concept of amorality. And this is entirely different from immorality. You see, an immoral person breaks a moral code, but deep down, they know they're breaking it. A psychopath operates from amorality. They don't just break moral codes, they literally do not recognize that moral codes even exist in the first place. It's a terrifying distinction, but it perfectly explains why they never, ever feel guilt.
So how do these dark traits play out in everyday life? Well, surprisingly, in the modern workplace, they are often utilized for getting ahead. We're talking aggressive office politics and impression management. They might actually score really high on task performance, but they severely lack friendliness and cooperativeness. The crazy thing is, our modern corporate environments sometimes actually reward these predatory behaviors if they produce results. This makes these individuals very successful but incredibly toxic to be around.
Let's shift gears to Section 3, the ideal victim. Why certain people are targeted. Because we need to ask, why do some of us fall into these toxic traps so much more easily than others?
The fundamental truth here is that manipulators actively look for specific vulnerabilities. Take empaths, for example. They naturally absorb more emotion, making them highly susceptible to guilt and people-pleasing. Manipulators often target empaths
dependent personalities, and highly sensitive people precisely because these individuals magnify emotions. If an empath senses a manipulator wants something, they'll often submit and just give it to them simply to avoid feeling bad or making the other person upset.
To spot a target, manipulators prey on specific signs of insecurity. That could be flaunting, controlling behavior, baseline anxiety, people-pleasing, or even perfectionism. If you're constantly trying to please others to your own detriment, or if your anxiety makes you easily pressured, a manipulator sees that as a giant green light. They will happily exploit your fear of not being good enough to completely bend you to their will. Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, Building Your Mental Armor, Defending Your Mind. How do we stop being victims and build permanent, lasting defenses?
To neutralize emotional manipulation, you have to do something pretty difficult. You have to stop caring what the other person says or feels. Now, I know that sounds incredibly harsh, especially for all the empaths out there listening, but the fundamental defense is reclaiming your internal power. You must step out of the victim role. You simply cannot let anyone on the outside dictate what goes on inside your mind. You have to be the absolute master of your own reality.
Think of it like this. You have to build the walls to your medieval city before the army actually arrives. You do this by practicing mental grounding. So what does that look like? It could mean taking 20 minutes a day to meditate and clear your mind, or escaping into nature to find some real tranquility. Taking night walks gets the blood flowing and helps you process daytime interactions clearly. But above all, practice frame control. This means knowing exactly what you truly believe and not wavering under criticism or pressure from a manipulator. Hold your ground. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought from Carl Jung. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. True defense against manipulation starts with profound self-awareness. When you understand your own mind and its vulnerabilities, no manipulator can ever use them against you. So, what vulnerabilities are you going to start protecting today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay grounded and keep your mental armor strong.